Conversations with Azu Ishekwele.
On Conversation with Azu, our weekly diary on life and politics, we are talking about the hottest subject on the planet right now. And it is the resumption on in office on the 20th of January of the 47th President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. Today on Conversation, we are looking at the message Donald Trump has for Africa from God. And this is roughly what the title is, but let me read it out more correctly. Trump's message from God for Africa is the title of our column today. And as usual, Azu, the writer, is with me on set to discuss the recent developments across the world, how it affects our beloved continent. You're welcome to Conversation, Azu.
Thanks for having me once again, James. Pleasure.
You were reluctant to write about Donald Trump, and you still wrote about Donald Trump eventually. Did it feel like a wrong entry in your diary?
Well, no, but in your intro, you described it as the hottest topic on the planet. I don't know whether it's hot or lukewarm or cold, but to be honest, as you saw in my column last week, I sort of dialed back to what I wrote about Donald Trump as he was entering the White House as the 45th president, as it then was, of the United States in 2017. And I didn't, to be honest, I didn't find much else to say at the beginning. So yes, you are correct to say that it was a topic that I came to rather reluctantly. But I guess for me, the very interesting point of departure was what he said on his inauguration day, which incidentally is one of the longest inauguration speeches by any American president, that God had saved or spared his life to save America. I thought that was quite interesting, to put it mildly. But then, of course, it became the point of entry to this topic, for the topic for this week.
And he describes the election that he won as the most consequential elections in the history of the United States. Why do you think he thinks so?
I think he must cut him some slack. Trump has a gift for exaggeration, and I say now it's a very special talent that he has. You also remember that in the same speech, which you have said he described as the most consequential speech in America's history, he attributed the splitting of the atom to America, which was not the case, So you must cut Trump some slack. It's not everything. With Trump, there are no middle grounds. There's no gray. Everything has to be the best in the world, the greatest. He has a gift for exaggeration, and I do not think any. If I may also borrow that talent, I do not think any former American president can compete with Trump when it comes to exaggeration. So it's a special gift.
In one of the executive orders he issued at inauguration, he declared the national energy emergency, and he's taking the American state back to full production of fossil fuel. And how do you think this is likely to impact fuel prices, especially as it affects oil-producing countries in Africa?
Well, that you are talking about where he talked about drill, baby, drill, right? So, but we'll have to wait and see how that will impact. As it is today, U.S. has the largest reserve of crude oil in the world, even without drilling any further. So it's not unlikely that any further drilling by the U.S. might impact prices. But it's to sign an executive order and make that proclamation is one thing. To then follow the process through and then wait to see the impact of that process, whether in the US or in global markets, is quite another. But I think that beyond what Trump does in his term, if assuming that he manages to carry on or carry through his intention to drill, as he said, there are also other factors that are beyond the US market that might also impact global oil prices, including stability in places like the Middle East, within OPEC members, and also the war between Ukraine and Russia. So there are and God knows what other unforeseen eventualities might be waiting for us. So theoretically, it could have an impact, but just beyond that, I figure that there are also other indeterminable factors that might influence oil prices other than what Trump has said.
In his entire speech, he didn't mention Africa even one time. But you, in your column, you seem to think that there are possibilities that he would revive or rather boost the implementation of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. And then you also mentioned the fact that most African countries will come off the pressure they have been on for the implementation of gay rights and all of that.
Well, Africa was not on the ballot, and Trump was clear about what he was going to do, that he was going to put America first. So I do not think Africans, and this had been said over and over again, I don't think it would be a surprise to Africans that he's not starting off with saying anything about Africa in his inauguration speech. But I think you should also keep in mind what I said actually about the African Growth and Opportunity Act is because Trump said that the word tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary, another extreme. Then this is the year for the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. If he actually believes and acts true on his love of tariff, then it means that tariff on African exports or African products under AGOA will also be impacted, and that will be negative for Africa. Clearly, it will be negative because some African countries, as I also said in my column, including Ghana and Kenya and Nigeria and Angola and South Africa for its automobiles, some African countries have used the AGOA Act beneficially, and also coming in a year when there's further discussion on the African Free Trade Continental Free Trade Agreement. It would really have been a nice thing if Trump paid some attention. But I guess that this is a time when Africa has to look out for itself. Because, to be honest, I don't think Trump has much interest, and he's made that clear from day one.
He also straight out claimed credit for the ceasefire in the Middle East. What do you say?
Well, you can't deny him, to be honest. He was clear. He sent envoys towards the tail end of the agreement. I've also spoken with people in the Middle East who think that he was consequential in helping to bring it. But the peace agreement had started long before he came into office. And there are people who have also argued that there was nothing significantly different between what was finally signed this year and what was what was negotiated and offered for signing in May last year. But, well, two things obviously different. Trump had not happened at that time, so Trump is different. And also, I think that there were discussions about whether Israel would pull out troops or not, and all of those things. Those, I think, were also consequential factors. But Trump cannot be denied a role in the consummation of the deal.
Now, with all the tech billionaires behind, the throne,
the tech cabal.
Yes. What does this hold? I mean, in terms of development.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see. Trump and his wife, Melania, became crypto billionaires before they stepped into the White House. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, it just makes you wonder. Trump says he's in there for the middle class and try to bridge inequality in America, which is experiencing the worst in several decades. But then he surrounds himself with people that Biden has called the tech. I think he said something like maybe that was a chance that the tech oligarch was going to.
Yes, oligarchs.
Yes, I think that's the tech oligarch was going to. So it's interesting to see these super billionaires crowding around a man who's supposed to bridge the gap between the very rich and the elite. How is he not going to pander to those people? I wait and see. I just wait and see how it all plays out. I think it will soon be daytime. After the honeymoon is over, it will be daytime soon for America, and that time will not be long.
And then on immigration, one judge has gone to court and issued
blocked,
an order, blocking.
But it's a temporary one, though. It's a temporary, the birthright citizenship. Yes, a temporary order issued by an American judge. And another interesting thing, I don't know whether this will come up in our discussion, but perhaps I should just chip it in now.
Please.
There is a congressional, a rep member, a member of the
Senate.
no, there's a
House
member
of
of Trump's party, the
Okay,
Republican
the
Party, in Congress, who has also gone to, who has initiated a resolution for a third term. This is reported by CNBC. Yes, you know, for a Trump third term, which Trump is not averse to. So you know,
And he has a majority in Congress.
yes, slight majority, but we'll have to wait and see how all of that goes. But again, whether he pulls off, whether it's the immigration, there is anti-immigration position, and this other issue about the third time, would depend, I think, on how he succeeds on the economic front. I suspect that if Americans begin to feel better off, and that feeling which they say propelled them to vote for him, if that feeling is translated in some sort of reality, then perhaps we'll be in very, very interesting far more interesting times than we have seen.
And then where I land is what interested me the most in your column, and this is the fact that people voted for Trump according to how they felt at the point of elections, and this affects many other countries. We've seen it in Ghana. Yes, how by way of education.
I honestly don't know, Julius. I think the political science of feeling over facts is one that is, well, I can't deny, but it's something that we need to look into further, because it's difficult to explain. But Trump has put it down to some sort of divine intervention, because perhaps it's correct that that's the only way you can explain it. It must be only God that can make that happen. Where, in spite of clear record, the contest in America, it's not also because, as some Christian folks think, is done taking some extreme and conservative position about LGBT and all of that. The values were very clear to voters. They won. Trump did not come to the ballot as a stranger. It's not. They just knew him as daylight, and
they voted for him.
And they voted for him. So let's love him and wish him and Americans luck in the days and years ahead.
I wish the world peace.
I wish the world peace. Hopefully.
Well, this is where we draw the curtain on conversation with Azu. For more on this, please visit azuishekwene.com, where you have a potpourri of things to watch and read on our weekly diary on life and politics. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Bye for now.